Hello, welcome back to another SwansCast podcast. Apologies for missing last week, but we're back now on the eve of the transfer deadline day, which is in a couple of days' time. We're recording this on Monday, the 29th. Obviously, we've got a match against Leicester tomorrow on Tuesday evening. We also just recently played Bournemouth in the FA Cup that saw us exit the competition. And yeah, I guess we'll probably get started with that. So thanks for joining me, Lee, this week.
No
What
worries.
you make of the FA Cup game against Bournemouth then? No better place to start. Obviously, we've got plenty of transfer stuff to get into, but we'll just talk about that performance first.
I genuinely think it was one of the worst games I've ever seen us play in years. I'm struggling to remember a worse one. It was so poor. I haven't seen a team fall apart like that ever. I was so annoyed with that game. I've never seen anything like it. I don't even know what to say. I don't know where to start. From a man, everybody on the pitch was poor. Everyone. Everything was going wrong. And then it just seemed like so many players down tools and just gave up. And I don't know what was going on. But I think it kind of highlighted as well for me, like how far like adrift we have become. Like, and I mean this like massive respect to Bournemouth for what they've done, but you know we were kind of that team, and I know it's a long time ago, but the fact that we were then decimated by Bournemouth, it was just it shows how far we've dropped off. I think in the last like couple of years, which is quite sad to see. So it kind of brought the last couple of years all together, and I think like you looked at that 11 on the pitch as well, and I was just like, is that the best we got? Like, it was just really, really frustrating.
Well, it wasn't the best 11 on the pitch, was it? Really?
Well, who were we missing? Only Lowe, was it?
Well, I don't know if. Well, yeah, Patterson wasn't playing, was he? He didn't start.
Yeah,
I don't know if Joe Allen started, didn't he? I don't know whether that's where we are in terms of forward. There's not really anyone else though, is there? I guess.
Maybe.
Who else has been playing up top? Liam Cullen played wing back, was a bit of a weird one. It's probably the area we are struggling a little bit is in wide wing back areas or wingers, whatever he wants to call them.
Yeah, it's just
Liam Cullen and Ashby's just come back from injury. I know he had a decent game the other day, but I feel like he had a bit of a tough one here.
I think that sums it up though. That left wing back role, it's just something we've. Well, I mean, last season it was the right back, but it's just something that we just haven't been able to. We just haven't been able to figure out. Like we had Man in last year, but then we didn't. We were playing Latibodia at a position on the right last year. Now this year we signed Choa on, and he went out on loan, and I know Beta went out as well to Bolton, and then we're playing Cullen as wing back. It's just a bit of a mess at the moment.
I don't get how we sign. I know we're going to talk about transfer stuff, but Cullen playing out of position in wing back. I know he uses them primarily as wingers, and he took a little bit of accountability for his setup after the match as well. But you've let these guys go, and Ogbeta and Choa on were supposedly attacking style wing backs, and they can't even get a sniff of a minute to show what they can do. But then you'll put someone in like Liam Cullen, who is a striker, potentially winger, now playing wing back. So instead of playing someone who's a bit younger, hasn't really had the experience in the first team, but in their correct position, we're playing someone completely out of position instead of giving that person a chance. And I think it does cross over a lot to some of the transfer stuff and maybe why we're in this situation. You know, there's news today of like a player, Ali Al Hamadi, if I've said his name correct. Ali Al Hamadi's joined Ipswich Town. So a player that 3 or 2.5 years ago, I believe he left on a free transfer. Someone highly rated from our academy who was banging the goals in for a while. He decided to leave because he wasn't getting first team chances. Did a little bit of the rounds in the lower leagues. Went to AFC Wimbledon last year. It's kind of banged in the goals. I think it was something like, what did I say, 20 something in 40 odd games when we looked just now.
Yeah, it was decent. And record, no fairness.
Yeah, it goes. Oh, there we are. It's 23 goals in 42 games, and he couldn't get on the pitch. We haven't really. I don't think, used our youth system that well in recent years. I know there's a few that have come through. Got Ollie Cooper, Sam Parker this season, I know. Cameron Congreve was one now Russell Martin tried to bring through, and it doesn't seem to have really worked. But then you're like, why didn't these others? There's plenty of others that seem to be just not managed to step up to the first team picture. You could even look at some players we signed, like Morgan Whittaker, for example. I don't know there's enough to be said and opinions about how that went, but it's got to be included there of mismanaged players. Some youngster we signed with a bit of talent that we've then later decided isn't quite right for us, only for him to move on and excel elsewhere. Victor Gyökeres, another one that was your only on loan. But for the success we had when we got relegated with the players that were in our youth system then, I think some of them are moving on now. Like, I don't feel like we're really doing very well at bringing them through. It'd be nice if Sam Parker can kind of buck the trend. But even Ollie Cooper's struggling now, isn't he? So, like, I'm not really sure what to say about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we've got a lot wrong in the last couple of years, across the board, with like recruitment and like the using the academy as a main part of that. I think ever since we lost that kind of like golden generation, if you like, with the Connor Roberts and the McBurneys, the Rodons, these Dan James, these sort of players. I think once that like core group of players had gone, we've kind of not really used anything, have we? And we've definitely not recruited well. And then we saw that with what we had to put out on the pitch against Bournemouth. I think that kind of, for me, that's why I got so annoyed, was just that 11 on the pitch and that performance was just, years in the making.
Yeah. You are right when you look at the 11, though. It wasn't that far away from a first team. Probably Alan's hardly played this season, but you know his name, like he could easily start games. Kyle Norton was in there and Fisher was in there. I think that's pretty much it. It's just a couple of people in positions that you wouldn't perhaps want them, like Alan behind the striker and
that's part of it as well.
Patino behind the striker, as much as people call him for it, and Cullen out wide. But like, there were choices he didn't have to make at the same time, and he did acknowledge it in his interview afterwards. He said he put too many attacking players on the pitch and asked them to play too far up the pitch and didn't change it in time to protect them. So he took full accountability for the performance. I'm just not 100% sure that that's how it went in the changing rooms. And I also thought it was quite interesting to see the stark contrast between the way he handled that compared to the way that Russell Martin might have when he was here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different approach. I mean, he used to kind of call out players a bit more than me, but I don't know. I think it kind of, I don't know. I think it's his early days, isn't it? I think if you're a new manager and you come in, I think you've got to play that style, no matter what. And I think it's a good idea from him, really, even though the scoreline, to kind of stick with it, because if that's what he believes in and that's the way we're going to be going forward, then he's got to stick with it. But I think, again, like individual performances, I think everything we've kind of been annoyed about with individual players this year, it just all happened in one game, and it's just I was just ready to erupt. I mean, I don't know if we go through individual performances one by one, because we'd be here all night, but and that kind of sums it up as well, because we've gone back to this style of play, haven't we? And it's just clear that we just haven't got the quality to be able to do that now. I think now that a couple of players have gone, arguably
we didn't have the quality to do it. Martin was here, and that's why you missed out on the. You could say, I still think he should have done better last season, but we spoke for 2 years basically of it being trust the process. It's a transition, we need a bit more time, a bit more backing, a few more players. For 2 years, he's gone to Southampton where, they've got better players. They've got a Premier League squad ultimately. They've got a bit more money. He's got a bit more backing to bring in players that he wants. And they're flying. So the quality perhaps has always been part of the issue, which is fine. Like, it's fine. Like, maybe that's where our squad is at the moment. But we've gone obviously backwards since he left in the summer last year, massively, in terms of the quality that's available, and we're trying to play that football again. And I think what we've seen so far, and yes, it is early days, you can't jump on the manager already, but the fact is, since he has come in, there was a 2-2 draw. I'm not counting Morecambe, but 2-0 on Morecambe isn't the most convincing, and it wasn't a good game to watch. It was 2-2 at Birmingham. Probably should have lost that game, as much as we were holding on for a win late. In terms of the chances, like, I think a draw was fair, but they had more better chances than we did that they missed. They could have been 2-3-0 up in the first half.
Yeah.
Southampton winning 3-1, better at a second half, yes, I know that. But don't tell me Southampton couldn't have scored a few more goals, because they absolutely could have. And 5-0 in the first half, don't forget, against Bournemouth, it doesn't make for pretty reading. And yeah, he's sticking to his guns and playing the style that he wants to play. But the reason Michael Duff got sacked, the first issue that needs addressing is the defence. We were scoring enough goals anyway. Someone needs to fix the defence. Because Martin couldn't do it, Duff couldn't do it, and I don't think Duff ever lost, but conceded 5 in a game. I know Martin did.
We've been defensively poor for ages, though. I mean, since Cooper left, because we were kind of a bit more solid under Cooper, which people hated. But I think, again, this is opening up another issue. But we've said it loads of times about the style of play and everything, but I think in this league, if you're sort of defensively sound, then you're going to go quite far. And I think that we haven't been able to defend for at least 3 seasons across the board, and I think keeping the ball kind of masks that a lot. I think you even saw that with Southampton. Like, they have 80% of the ball. I know that with the players they've got as well. But as soon as you go at them, they look vulnerable. Like, we could have scored a lot of goals in that game. For as bad as we have been, we could have scored a lot of goals in that game. But we kind of lost it in the first 20 minutes. And the same with the Bournemouth game. We lost the game in the first 20 minutes.
But we said that for a while with Martin's style of play. Like, we didn't get battered all the time. There's some games we lost, we should have won or drew. But teams are always scoring with the limited chances they had. Like, they didn't need that many chances to score. You say, like, we have 70% possession or whatever it was, and we can't break them down, but they managed to do it with 30, with less chances, or less of the ball. They're creating better chances with less of the ball. And that was a consistent theme under him here. Obviously, when it clicked, especially the end of last season, where it really clicked and we had a really good run, that was the peak, of what we saw from him. Yeah. But it wasn't like that all the time, and it wasn't like that for most of the time. And I think we're in for another roller coaster. And anyone who thinks this is going to be a quick transition, I think just be prepared. If this is what you want, you've got to be patient, because you either want it and you allow him time and you take the rough times, because I think it's going to be a big job to turn this around and to go back to this style. I'm not saying the players can't do better performing against certain teams and pick up more points and finish higher in the table, playing whatever style of football a solid. Say Steve Cooper was here, I feel like he would get him playing better and move him up the table just by the way that he gets him playing. Yeah, I feel like if you want this style of play, it's going to take a lot longer to build that. I hope I'm wrong, but that's what I think it's going to be.
You'll pick up points in this league just by not being so open. Some of the goals we concede, and just being so open, the mistakes we make. I know, like, we can talk about like we can talk about the way we set up, and maybe we're not tactically good defensively. But I haven't watched the game back because I don't want to watch it back. But a lot of them were just individual mistakes. I mean, you can't account for that as a manager half the time. Like Humphreys and Wood at the back. I've never seen anything like it. And like Fisher again with a loose pass out, and it's just no excuse for it. And I think, I know we touched on like Russell Martin and Cooper there, but I just think it's been coming for so long. We've done this. Since we've started doing this podcast, we said every transfer window we look at, and we are worse off after every window. And now we've kind of always expected, we kind of expected to get to this point somewhere along the line, even though we were kind of hoping it never would come. And there was always something that came along that would kind of shift it. So we had the McBurneys and the Dan Jameses coming through, and it kind of, great. We had a good team, and then they all left, and then you kind of had IU came back for a bit, and that kind of we had that quality, and you still had like Connor Roberts, and you still, we had like Guehi on loan, and some of these players, and it kind of bridged the gap, and then you lose another bit more of that core, and then thankfully we brought in like Perot came in and Manning and then Cham, and then after like you said, we had to wait, but eventually like the Russell Martin style of play came through at the end of last season, and Perot was banging in 20 goals every year, and then Cham had like 8, I think it was, and Manning had like 10 or 11 assists. And now that they've gone out the door, and Martin left as well, and then we have, some of the players we brought in this year have not been up to scratch. This is going to take even longer, I think, with Williams coming in, because we haven't got like a Perot that can bail you out. We haven't got any players in that team, I don't think, that can command like interest from anywhere else. And I don't want it to sound really like doom and gloom, but there's just no quality in that squad. And that was just abundantly clear in the last couple of games, like Southampton and Bournemouth.
I think you mentioned Nathan Wood and Humphreys there. We knew Humphreys struggled in his first match we saw under Williams against Birmingham, really struggled there. And you mentioned Nathan Wood, obviously subject to a big bid from Southampton in the summer. Yeah. He's nowhere near that value right now, is he, from what he's shown since he's come back from injury. And it's quite funny because the back three also consisted of Cal Norton. You didn't mention his name. Not saying that he had a good game necessarily, but I feel like less bad than the other two. And he's the one that didn't even play.
Yeah, it was just those two in particular that made so many errors going back, like Humphreys in particular has been a ticking time bomb in the last.
Yeah, but it says it all that like the one that's barely kicked a ball in a year is not the one that stands out as being poor, and the other two are meant to be the up and coming youngsters that are like one's tipped for England. Nathan Wood was tipped for England like last season and tipped with Arsenal, and Southampton put 10 million bid in for him. And
I don't know if that bid was the best thing that ever happened to him, because it's the body language as well. I mean, like even when we were like 2-0 down, it's just like Wood and Humphreys in particular, arms in the air, shoulders down, moaning, looking for someone to sort it out basically, and not taking command. And it was just it was so annoying.
I don't think we need to say anything about Fisher. We kind of know we stand there. Just if you don't get a cup game win, is he going to get a game? To be fair, Duff didn't even start him in the League Cup game against Bournemouth.
Yeah, he didn't, to be fair. Yeah,
so I think says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, again, but then this is the making of many transfer windows. Is that even though?
I mean, Fisher's Russell Martin's fault, to be fair.
Well, yeah, but I mean that's just one of the bad signings that have happened. One of the bad decisions we made over the years.
Yeah.
When you have to make 2 or 3 changes, and you make 2 or 3 changes, and the players are just not good enough.
I found it quite funny how, well, not funny, but Ollie Cooper, how is he not starting this game when you've got Patino, Allen, Felton and Grimes all starting? When is Ollie Cooper going to start a game if he can't start behind the striker ahead of Allen? When is he going to start a game? And Patino as well was there. Some people arguing he was on the wing. He definitely wasn't playing on the wing.
No, he wasn't.
Definitely playing behind the striker. Maybe he was like, because it was like Yates up top with 2 cams, so they probably are wider, but they're not wingers. They're like inside forward, left and right, if you like, from behind the striker.
See how they set up, because like the wing backs are very high up, and they play on the wing essentially, don't they? And
he was directly at fault for a goal again.
Who?
Patino.
I've said my piece on Patino. I've said it weeks and weeks now. He just doesn't do anything for me.
But you said on Twitter, and you riled up a few, didn't you, with that one?
My point with Patino was, like, I was watching the game, and I think everybody in that, those 4 midfielders, Grimes included, Fulton, Patino and Allen, they were all awful collectively. But then you turn on Twitter, and it's Fulton straight away is like the worst thing that's ever happened to the club. And I don't get it. And Patino gets all this love and defence, when Fulton is kind of been here for years. He's not, I wouldn't go as far as say like club legend, but he's been here for a long time. He's put everything into the Swan shirt. And I know that doesn't like buy you credit on the pitch, but like he's not as bad as everyone else. Like he doesn't stand out as the worst midfielder that we've got. I think him and Grimes are the best 2 combination that we have. And if everybody's going to throw Patino at me and say, "Oh, Patino should be starting ahead of Fulton," I point to that performance and go, "There, he had his start, and he was absolutely useless." I'm not. That's not
Yeah.
exaggeration. He was crap.
So the point is, everyone's criticising Felton so much, they're all like recently, like really piling it on. And the response to the tweet we even had was like, "Oh yeah, because he's been useless forever," and it's like, well, look, they were all bad in this game. No one's saying
Oh no, I'm not
we're not
defending
saying
his
Felton
performance.
necessarily had a better game than Patino
No.
here. We're just saying give them both the same stick if you're going to
Yeah,
criticise one of them.
exactly.
Don't just say every single time you can't start Felton and Grimes together. Well, they all started here and it didn't change anything. If anything, it made it worse. Patino got pushed, like blown off the ball for a goal.
It's
Basically,
so bad.
like poor body strength. He was the one that cost us the equaliser against Birmingham. I'm not going to let that go. It was his fault. It was his fault. 100% his fault. Right? And he's. I'm not saying he always concedes a goal. People saying, "Oh, he needs to start in midfield." Like he's still a youngster. He's learning. He's costing us goals. I know it was other people that cost us goals in this game, but he started behind the striker and still managed to give a goal away. He's not even in a defensive midfield role there, and he still managed to give the goal away. And I'm not saying he shouldn't have a role to play either. We're just trying to make the point. Stop making Felton a scapegoat because he does not deserve this much more stick than someone like Patino is getting. Patino is not immune from criticism. He's done plenty of things that he should have done better with all season. He's also done plenty of things that he should get credited for all season. And Felton's done plenty of things he should have got criticised for. But it's only ever one of them that gets called out. And no matter what happens, Felton is called out and Patino is like praised like he is the next Messiah. And he just isn't. There's all this link with Juventus and all this stuff. Well, why has none of it materialised?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
he'd be gone if there was a big bid for that for him. Apparently Fulham were interested, but Arsenal were like, no, he's staying at Swansea. I don't know how true you can believe into those things. I just think if that was the case, he'd be gone. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, why would he still be here? He's clearly got stuff to work on, and that's fine. That's why he's at the Swans.
Yeah.
But let's not be blindsided to it. And he wasn't starting on the wing, because that was another excuse for his performance was, well, you're playing him out of position, he's on the wing. Cullen was playing wing back. This system is wing backs, not wingers. Patino was not on the wing. If you think Patino was on the wing, then you've got it wrong in regards to what you think the formation and the lineup is and the way that Luke Williams is playing, because I don't know what else to say on that really, but he clearly wasn't on the wing.
No, I agree with you, and that's why I kind of lost it a bit, which was not normally like me, but I like I said, like Fulton's just become a scapegoat, and it's not me defending him. I'm not like standing here and saying, "Oh, he played well," because he didn't. No one played well. But like you said, you've got to criticize fairly, and I just don't understand the narrative that Fulton is the worst thing in this club, and then people are presenting. And again, I don't want to be. I know I have been, but I don't want to be too critical of like Patino, because I think there is a good player in there. I've said it a million times.
We're not criticising him.
But we haven't seen it in the game. But when people are constantly saying, "Oh, he should be starting, he should be doing this, he should be doing that," then you kind of have to come back and be like, "Well, actually, look, this is not happening." Like every time I've seen him play, he doesn't do it for me. He looked good when he first came in, and he has had good performances. But then there's no fluke that 3 managers now this season have not started him.
Yeah. We're not criticising him. We're calling out... not criticising him fairly. We're just asking for consistent criticism, that's all. Yeah. And we'll credit him when he does well, and we'll call out when he doesn't, same as any other player. And I just don't like it when someone's made it... I was the same when Kyle Norton was a scapegoat the year we got relegated from Premier League.
Yeah.
All of his stats, right, defensively, were in the top 5 for the league, not just the Swans. Quite like interceptions and tackles. He was up there for the league, but apparently it was his fault that we kept conceding goals.
Yeah, he was the same. He was a scapegoat in that year. He was just the one to blame every week, and it just seems like Fulton is that player now.
Yeah.
And like you said, sometimes he doesn't have a good game, but
and Grimes had a stint of it under Cooper as well.
I don't think he's as bad as people make out. Especially in this game, sometimes he just he is a bit wild, but sometimes he's the only midfielder that sticks a foot in.
Yeah.
Like when things are going wrong, he goes and maybe dives in a bit late and stuff, but he's the only one that kind of does stick a foot in and try and get something going when the tide is turning, and then maybe it looks worse because the team's not playing well, and then he gets like a yellow card or he gives the ball away or something, and then he kind of gets all the stick then. But not even Patino. I think Joe Allen was absolutely horrendous in that game. I haven't seen him play worse than that. That was
Maybe his time is up.
It's just Well, look again. I'll go back to we did the podcast in that transfer window when we brought him back, and I said I'm not sure because I don't think you should bring him back. I think it's a bit of a pie in the sky sign. We're like, he's coming home and it's great and wonderful, and we all love that. And I was told, oh yeah, but Leon Britton came back and it worked. Totally different scenario.
6 months later.
Totally different. Yeah, exactly. Totally different scenario. And I just thought, we're not getting the Joe Allen that plays previously. He was playing like one game every 3 years for Stoke and then having a couple of games for Wales and then going injured again. And I'm not being like too heavy on Joe Allen. He's great, being a great player, and I love the bloke. But you have to criticise him as well because he was awful.
Yeah, and this is where I just wish I know Ollie Cooper hasn't been performing this season, but
it happens.
That's where he should be playing.
It happens in front of me in the stadium every week. It's so funny to watch because, like Grimes will give the ball away, right? He'll try a pass and he'll give the ball away, and people will go berserk and go, "Oh, Grimes again, giving the ball away," and then Joe Allen will give the ball away. And they'll be like, "Oh, unlucky. Yeah, never mind. Don't worry, get it back now. Unlucky." It's like
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, and it doesn't make
But anyway,
as well.
that's not the main issue. Anyway, the main issue is the squad that we've got. It's just quality, and it's not good enough.
And we'll look at that now. Just one last thing on the Bournemouth game. One little positive, I guess, is the Philippe Lissar. Is it Lissar? Lissar?
Yeah, Lissar. Yeah.
Lissar debut, right wing back. I know better when happy when he came on, and obviously he ended up moving on basically an hour after the game. Ogbeta, a wing back who can't get on the pitch, even though he signed for the club. Philippe Lissar coming through the youth academy to come on the right side, which I would say is probably stronger for us in regards to depth. I know Key is injured, but Ashby went off and Lissar come on. He looked all right, to be fair. He looked neat and tidy, an option, and I can't imagine he'll get that much game time this season if Key comes back, but maybe he could be a good understudy and we wouldn't need a loan like Ashby next year. We'd have someone in the wings as a number 2 that we can develop alongside Key. That would be good for the future. So one small positive, and obviously Sam Parker maybe going in for that role as well if it's a wing back role. So a couple of options there. Let's look at the transfers now then. We're running out of time a bit and there's a few things we want to touch on. So we said Ali Al Hamadi, which isn't really Swans related news, but a bit of a sad one because we perhaps could have utilised a player like that right now. But we have signed someone ourselves in the forward position. Ronald, not Ronaldo, but Ronald, Brazilian.
Ronald.
Yeah, but is it Ronald or is it Ronald?
Probably Ronald, isn't it? Brazilian, but we'll call him Ronald.
Yeah, Ronald McDonald, probably. Well, we'll see. With our signing rate this season, it's quite a high chance that maybe it goes that way. I'm joking, of course. But he signed from Brazilian club Grêmio. He's been on loan in the Portuguese Premier League or whatever it's called at Estrela da Amadora. He was there last season to help them get promotion, and he's played for them this season 17 times so far. So he's been there 18 months. So been playing in like top league in Portugal. I'm not going to lie and say I know an awful lot about him because I don't, and I think a lot of people are in the same boat, and he wasn't really a name floated around. It kind of just came out of nowhere. But getting a Brazilian winger in has got to be like exciting, surely.
Yeah, I think let's just get excited about it. I mean, it's a really random signing, isn't it? Like no one, like you said, no one saw that coming or had any idea or like even knew who he was. So, but you can kind of, it's kind of like a Montero-esque signing, isn't it? We kind of signed him, no idea. Oh, well, he had a bit of previous, didn't he? He played like under Laudrup, I think, at Getafe, but was it Laudrup? No, I can't. Well, I think he played for Getafe anyway, I think, so he had a bit more pedigree. But yeah, I think let's just get excited about it. I mean, he's playing in the Portuguese Premier League, so it can't be that bad, can he? It can't be awful.
I wouldn't know how to compare the Championship and teams in that league, to be honest. I'd imagine, obviously you've got a few handful of teams that would play in Europe there. Maybe then the rest of the league is akin to Championship level.
But it's odd. Like people say, like we've said as well, that we need wingers. But if he's going to play with these wing backs, and we're not going to use wingers again, so is he going to play them in these like Patterson
I think
type
he does.
role?
Yeah, maybe, but I think he does convert wingers to wing backs as much as he converts full backs to wing backs. So I don't know. It would be interesting to see where he puts him. But I don't know if he can play striker as well. Sometimes he has been at Notts County, he played two up top, didn't he? So I don't know whether he could play off like the striker, whoever that is. But I don't even know who that's going to be, because there's been speculation obviously on Jerry Yates, which summer signing, main striker and all the rest of it, linked to Blackburn. Don't know how much credibility is in it. It's coming out from all angles that the club is open to selling him, to moving him on, with a preference to a permanent move rather than a loan move. Blackburn interested. But Luke Williams has been speaking today to say it's just speculation. I know that's kind of what you say in this sort of scenario. But, yeah, I don't know. We'll see where this one goes, maybe.
Yeah, it's really odd, and I think it says a lot that like there's rumours about him leaving already. I think it says a lot about what we've had. But Blackburn's an interesting one because it's a bit more closer to Blackpool, unless he wants to try to head back that way as a preference. I don't know.
They play in a similar sort of style as well, Blackburn now, though, than what Luke Williams is going to want to bring in. So
yeah, I don't know. I think the thing is with Yates, like I know I've been vocal about him as well all season. I just not felt it at all. But then he just looks like he got no confidence to me. He just looks finished. And that is a big thing, especially for a striker. If they just got no confidence and they're worried about making mistakes and missing chances, it's not going to work. But sometimes, sometimes it works better in the second season. They kind of get that first season out of the way. He could still get up to like 10 goals, but I think we're still in that position. Sadly, well, as most clubs are, where you've got to get someone out the door to bring one in. And I think we had the news that Ronald had come in, and then 5 minutes later it was that Balassi was out the door. So I know Balassi didn't bring in a fee, but it just shows that we are just one in, one out at the moment. And I think if there's maybe a potential signing in the wings to come in, maybe Yates is one that's going to be moved on.
I feel like there must be a striker on the horizon, or there must be something going on if Yates is getting linked with the moves away. I can't see him letting Yates go if there's no one coming in, and I'd imagine it's a case of like doesn't get finalised until our one coming in is finalised. There's also small rumours, I don't know much is in them, of Liam Cullen going, but I know he's out of contract in the summer, so that's probably easy targets and easy journalism. The team I saw was Hull, but I don't think there's any credibility in it. I can't see him going there because they've just made some incredible signings, and I just don't think it makes sense. Also, Mikola Kahirovic, open to offers on him apparently as well, the club is. I say apparently, I know people don't like using the word, but it is all rumour and speculation at this time. Like I don't have inside sources. We're kind of reading across Twitter from people who I do think are reputable in some quarters, but you never really know what the stance is on these players. We're a club that, in theory, every player probably is available if the fee comes in. That matches what we need. And it does sound like we haven't got that much money to spend, which is not what they said after the summer necessarily. Did you hear there was accounts from Nathan Dyer being in the away end at Bournemouth? Because he's an agent now, isn't he? And saying that he'd offered a load of players to the club, but they're skint. So don't know how much truth is in that. But for Yates, I just think if he's going to go, there must be someone coming in, striker, to replace him. And that must be something in the works. I'd be very surprised if that isn't the case. And if he goes and we don't bring someone in, that could be bad news, really. I know he's not performing, but Lowe's injured.
Yeah.
What if, Mikola hasn't had the best injury record and we haven't really seen much of him? So say he does get another knock, and I know Lowe's back not so long away, but that would leave Cullen on his own, unless they're going to give that Wilson a chance from the under-23s.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Yeah.
Like we touched on earlier, there's not really been many.
Well, maybe Luke Williams will have a look. There's some good
Maybe.
talent there that I feel like could get tapped into. He just seemed to be a bit reluctant. Look at Sam Parker. He came from nowhere really, up to like at the start of the season, but they kind of performed at decent levels to show that they can offer something. They're only ever going to get better and able to play at this level if they're given that chance. But we were thrown into it when we got relegated with several players and never really made the cut in the Prem, and they got given a chance in Championship and became ever present in the team, and then got moved on for decent fees. So just something I think that we need to start using a bit more of, as we discussed earlier. The last thing you said, Balassi has gone as well. Kind of saw that one coming. He probably didn't do enough, I would say, to get kept, but the depth is the issue, and maybe it was good to have him around.
Yeah, he came in at a time where we were, it was a difficult time for the team, wasn't it? He came in and kind of, it was a bit of a good laugh on the way, wasn't it? Like,
he had a good chant, and I think that's what he'd be remembered for.
Yeah, a bit. I really wanted it to work out, but
I think 34. It was just what was going to happen.
Yeah, I think that's why we saw it going, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, there we are. That's one. We had Balassi for a short time. And we've had 3 departures, I believe all left backs really. Lincoln McFadden's gone on loan to Cymru Premier League side Penny Bont. I think he's made 1 or 2 first team appearances. Bolton obviously signing Swansea's Nathaniel Ogbetter on loan until the end of the season. I think he's out of contract, so probably the last we've seen of him. Another one that, bit of a waste of money really. I thought maybe he'd have a future under Luke Williams. He kind of bigged him up and then put him on a bench a couple of times, released that video, and now he's gone.
Yeah, that was odd.
And Nathaniel Choa on as well. I haven't got the club in front of me, but he's gone back to Holland, the Netherlands, and he's on loan.
Again, though, like if you look at the Ogbetter one, that could be another one that we talk about in 2-3 years if he starts playing well. But it's just a case of maybe Luke Williams came in, and I'm speculating again, but maybe Luke Williams came in and said, I like the look of him, we'll give him a go. And then, obviously, because he hasn't been playing for a long time, there's been, interest around him, maybe for a couple of months, maybe for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And the powers that be above Luke Williams' head have said, well, if they want him, if someone wants him, he's going.
Yeah, we're not giving him a new contract, so like.
Yeah. And this is the issue. I think, I think we've kind of been a bit level-headed about our owners and stuff in the past, but I think it's all coming to a head now where we're in a bit of I wouldn't say we're in a bit of a mess, but No,
the owners have got massive issues in certain areas. What I've been talking about them recently is there's so much worse out there at the moment as well. So we just got to tread with caution in certain areas. There's not to say they can't be called out because they're making some howlers, especially with transfers at the moment and whatever structure is in for player recruitment. Like for now, at least, we are not seeing that work, and that's a massive issue. I don't think it's all down to Paul Watson either. Before anyone jumps on that bandwagon, because it's not just been the last year; it's longer.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, I was going to say it's not. I think this year in particular, well, the summer was one window, isn't it? The one window in the summer you could argue has not been great, but
it's easy to jump on that now when we've got a different manager who wants to play a different style again.
Yeah, exactly.
It's easy to say these players are leaving and it didn't work, and I know some of them didn't get played, but Michael Duff didn't have a good time here and ended up getting sacked. So that's partly the reason why some of the players wouldn't have played well. It goes hand in hand a little bit. We haven't done well as a team. Manager's gone, and the players that come in haven't done well. Well, the team haven't done well. We're not doing as well as we should, and that's why the manager's going. So it's kind of all hand in hand. But the fact that we've gone a different direction with play style again now is partly the reason some of these players are probably like looking like exiting 6 months later.
Yeah,
that's probably part of it. I don't think it's. You can't just say, "Oh, look, see, Paul Watson made mistakes, and 6 months later, his signings are all leaving."
I think it's just that's the easy story.
Easy target, yeah. What happens when Watson goes and the problems stay the same?
Well, exactly, because the problem is he's the incumbent, isn't he? He's there now. He's in charge of that. So when the players are not playing very well on the pitch, he's the one that's going to take the flak. Maybe rightly so for the transfers we made this year. But like we said, this has been years of transfer windows and recruitments that we've ended up in this position. And it's one of the... again, I don't want to be really all doom and gloom, but this is the one sort of time in the last couple of years where I think we are struggling now. I think if we have a bad window now and a bad window in the summer, we are really we're really looking over our shoulder now for next year. I think I don't think we'll get sucked into a relegation fight this year. But if they don't improve our squad, there's all those loan players that are going to come out again. If they don't recruit well over the next 2 transfer windows, it's massive. The biggest 2 transfer windows we've ever had is this one and the summer one.
Yeah, massive. But got to give it a chance, and for Williams to bring in players that suit his style. Maybe you can get something out of them. We'll have to wait and see.
Hopefully it works, but it's just a bit down on it at the moment. A bit down on the squad, but hopefully, just Leicester away to come. Nice, easy game.
I just spoke to the BBC Radio Leicester about that, and they were like, "Oh, what's the trip up to Leicester like for Swansea at the moment?" I was like, "Well, after you lose, get smashed against Southampton, get smashed against Bournemouth, it's not really where you want to be going, is it?" So
yeah, but this has bugged me this week as well. I don't know if everyone else feels the same, but where I see us as is probably a mid-table championship team. I think that's probably realistic of what we are.
Yeah, definitely.
A mid-table championship team, maybe we get a couple of things right, maybe we can have a bit of a playoff push. That's kind of where our expectation is at the moment. So when we went and played Bournemouth, Bournemouth are a mid-table Premier League, lower end Premier League team, should we say? I at least expect us to be competitive in that game, and that's what annoyed me. Like, you look at Newport yesterday, who played against Man United, they were competitive. You don't expect, even if I didn't expect us to beat Bournemouth, but be competitive. We're better, surely we can be competitive in that game. And then we've had Southampton and Leicester either side. Fair enough. Southampton's squad is ridiculous, and so is Leicester's.
Just saying, Southampton are signing David Brooks on loan.
Well, there we go. Exactly. So the squad's ridiculous. But then, the build up to the game has just been Southampton are so good. Oh, they're amazing. The squad's so good. And then you could see it on the pitch that we just lost that game in the first 20 minutes because we gave them too much respect.
Yeah.
And it was the same against Bournemouth. It was amazing team, quality opposition. I don't know how we're gonna cope with this team. It's just hang on, now we're not playing Man City and Real Madrid. We were playing Southampton and Bournemouth. I expect us to be a bit more competitive. And the same would be Leicester now. Oh, Leicester. Oh, wow. Brilliant. Amazing. I don't know how we're even going to be competitive in this game. And then probably 20 minutes we'll be 3-0 down and then we'll start playing.
Well, we'll see tomorrow night if we're, how we're feeling after that. Another deflated defeat.
No, but
we're in a bad fixture list at the moment. I think it's a Plymouth after Leicester. We need to get something in our game.
Massive game. And then we've got Hull and Leeds, I think.
Yeah, Hull are flying. They've signed absolute quality wingers, and Leeds are again pushing for second. And
but like I said, we should be competitive. In times gone by, even though, your Leeds and these teams have come down to Swansea, and you think, it's a big game. We've been competitive. It's a hard play. It's a hard place to come. Nobody wants to go to. Well, historically, not now, but it's just annoying me that we're not very competitive at the moment. But there we go.
Only way is up, maybe, or down, I guess. We'll see. Time will tell. But yeah, thanks as always, guys, for listening. We've got to shoot now, unfortunately. A little bit of a rushed one. But we'll try and get back on after the transfer window ends later this week, if we can. No promises, but hopefully we'll be able to make it happen. We're not going to if nothing happens in the transfer window. I'll put that out there because we kind of discussed everything so far today. So if nothing else happens, then all we're going to do is rant about the fact that nothing else has happened. So we'll see what happens, see how the week goes, and if we've got stuff to come on and discuss, then maybe we will. But thanks, as always, for tuning in and listening on Spotify, watching on YouTube. Leave a comment, let us know what your thoughts are about Swansea's situation at the moment. And give us a rating on Spotify if you're still listening there as well. And we shall catch you on the next one. Thank you very much.
See you soon.